Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 336 of the Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Of course, we are live Friday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern, over on Facebook, not TikTok yet, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Kick, some other places, probably Twitter. I think we're even live on Twitter. So join us if you want to join us in the chat. Of course, if you're listening via the podcast, you can always check out the video on demand at youtube.com/Better on Draft. And if you're listening via the video on our YouTube or Facebook page, of course, you can check out our podcast and subscribe, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your subscriptions. Let's go over through the hosts. Wendy will be joining us in just a few minutes, but I wanted to get going. Dan, what are you drinking over there?
Hey, all right. So I've got a barrel-aged Speedway Stout tonight. And then if that isn't enough, I've got a Midnight Run Coffee Stout from 12 West.
Ken is muted.
And Rob, what are you drinking over there?
This is a new thing that he does.
I have day 21 of my advent calendar, a New Glarus Wisconsin Belgian Red, one of my absolute favorite beers. It is just beautiful.
Almost caught up. You're one day behind.
Almost caught up.
You can get there for the news segment. We got Wendy cracking open her can. Wendy, what do you got over there?
I have a Trogs Mad Elf, shocker, but I also have a Creature Comfort Tropicalia.
Well, for me, I am going a little light today, just one beer, but that is a 2023 Bourbon County, as I am going to be getting some more from Chicago tomorrow, including a handful of the variants that I am excited to pick up. With that in mind, no guest in studio today, as it is the holidays, and many of our guests are, getting ready for the holidays, throwing holiday parties. So we're just kind of doing a nice little roundtable chat. And I wanted to kind of go over some different topics today. And there was one thing that we had that we wanted to talk about, which was beer traditions. We've kind of talked about, special things. We have our inside jokes. We talk to each other. Obviously, myself and Dan have known each other for a very long time. I've known Wendy for a decent amount of time now through the beer industry, and Rob, you're brand new. But what are some, brand new to Better on Draft, I should say. What are some beer traditions or traditions around beer that you celebrate or that you utilize? And I'm going to start with Wendy, because I feel like there might be a good amount that she has from all of the different releases and parties that she does with the Detroit Draft Divas, and everything like that.
Well, the Divas usually get together for Christmas at some point. And a couple years ago, right after COVID, we changed up a little bit, and we did a sock exchange. So you had to get a pair of Christmas themed socks, and one of the socks gets stuffed with beer. The other sock gets stuffed with whatever you want to put in there. And I thought that was really fun. That's a good time. And I love crazy socks. So, it's the best of all worlds, in my opinion. So that's the one that comes to mind first when I think of Christmas traditions.
Well, not even necessarily Christmas traditions. What about just like regular beer traditions? There's a lot of people who go to Three Floyds Day or Four Elf Day, or different release parties over at Drafting Table, like here in Michigan, or Ascension, or there was that one place in Florida where like the line was so long it was getting into the subdivision and the people were calling the cops. Is there a beer release party or a tradition that you used to go to, or you still go to, or you want to start going back to, maybe even a festival?
No Rules Day for sure. I love that beer more than anything. It's so delicious. So I miss going and standing in line, though the last time I went and stood in line for it, I was not as prepared as I thought I was, because I left my boots in the car back here. So I was standing with a pair of Converse with a hole in the bottom that I didn't know was there until I was standing in the water on a freezing cold day, and I had lost my hat the night before. So I was woefully unprepared for a freezing cold, no rules day. Luckily, my beer fairy is very lenient with me and didn't mind that I went and sat inside for a little while they stood in line.
So what is No Rules Day?
No Rules is the release of Perrin's No Rules.
Okay.
Technically, it's the only time you can get it unless it's on draft someplace. And there's really just no rules. Like, you can buy as many as you want. So you could go and pick up a whole truckload, or you could go and pick up one or two, but you're all standing in the same line.
Ah, gotcha.
I know Dan was
So is
kind
it
of
like how
chuckling.
there's no laws? Yeah, there's no rules. So there's no rules while you're drinking. No rules.
There are no rules. When No Rules Day started, there was a guy who would rent a truck, go to Perrin, and would actually like not beer ferry, but be the what's the
Mule
thing?
it.
Mule it. Yeah, he would mule the beer back to the east side of the state. And this guy would buy literally pallets worth of No Rules to bring back to the state. And he never upcharged or anything like that. He never charged, you paid for what it was, whatever the beer was plus tax. That's it. And it was so crazy to see some of those photos of this guy and all the work he would do with Perrin, obviously, to facilitate this purchase. But this is one of those things where people would wait in line. The first person would always get a bowling ball as their prize to be the first person in line, because it's a reference to the Big Lebowski. There's no rules in Vietnam, which is why it's like a Vietnamese imperial porter, according to Bill Carney. And he has a much larger one. I don't know if this is, there it is. Hey, no rules are followed throughout the creation of the product. The gigantic 15% Imperial Porter is deceptively smooth and subtly sweet, with layers of flavor that seem to never end. Some say it tastes like a Mounds candy bar that's been dipped over and over again in rich chocolate and soaked in bourbon. Other people find flavors of coconut, cinnamon, toffee, vanilla, and coffee, and they would also be correct. The beer is special, and there's a reason why it's named as the top beer in, and it looks like it got cut off. So I'm guessing top beer in the U.S., top beer in the world.
Vietnamese porter category.
Oh.
It's the best
So
Vietnamese
it beat
beer
out.
out there.
It beat out 2 other beers.
That's right. That sounds like fun.
So actually, when Better on Draft sent me to the Beers Without Beards Festival in Maine, that was the day of No Beers release. And I actually stopped in the middle of the festival to order my No Rules so that I could go and pick it up later.
Well, so the original No Rules orders were on site. I don't think there was pre-orders. It was you just show up and buy. So people would have to wait in line. Huge party would ensue. We went in 2019, I believe, as Better on Draft, myself, Matt, Rob, and Nick. And the 4 of us went through the entire process, and we saw all of the, cashed bottles in line and cups and stuff. I'm like, this has got to be so annoying to have to clean up after all these messy people. The lack of foresight to have garbage cans for bottles and cans and stuff, and garbage cans for plastics and stuff on Perrin's side is probably their fault, as I victim blame them there. But the event itself is a lot of fun. They do a lot of releasing of older kegs of No Rules that you get to try. When we went, there was a cigar roller there. And then I also believe me and Matt tried to do foaling, and like when we went to Eastern Market and played bags and got our asses kicked, we also got our asses kicked in foaling too.
So I got a great idea for this.
What's that?
For No Rules. We're going to start a GoFundMe next year. We're going to be first in line and buy every single bottle available and let everyone watch us dump it out down the drain.
I feel like you had people like maybe willing to donate up until that last part, Dan.
What, pouring
I would
it down
never
the
let
drain?
that
Why?
happen.
Yeah.
I would never let that happen. Are you kidding? I underbuy every year, and I feel like I overbuy. I underbuy every stinking year. I get to that last bottle, and I'm like, I did not think this through.
I thought it'd be a good idea. We'd be famous. Like,
Yes.
forever.
What about you, Rob? Do you have any beer traditions that you do out in Indiana, or things that are kind of a yearly reoccurrence?
So as a Christmas tradition, ever since my kids were small, and this is one I guess my wife brought with her, we would leave out cookies for Santa, but with a beer, because Santa likes beer. So that was always nice. But so the no rules, my group, well, one person in my group and we used to go to Beer Brewery, BIER. It's on the east side of Indianapolis. Really good stuff. One of the older craft breweries in the area too. But they have an annual release, which I think is tomorrow, if I remember right, for Sanitarium, which was a quad. It's a quad that's won gold medal at GABF a few times. It's really, really delicious. And so we'd go and would stand in line, but it's not festive. It was kind of boring and transactional. But if you go later in the day, then that's when all the regulars are there and they've started drinking and they're sitting around having a good time. But it's on the east side of town, so we have to drive back. So you don't want to sit around drinking a quad and then have to drive back. I don't think Uber was even a thing back then. So that was a tradition that we had. We did that a few times, but then they started making more and more Sanitarium. So I'm not even going to go over there tomorrow and pick one up. I'll just wait until the next time I'm in that area of town and pick one up then. But we had a local brewery for a little while. It was open for almost 2 years. They didn't quite make their second anniversary. And in about 9 months in, they released their first barrel-aged beer, and they were having a great big, release party for it. It's called Glorious Destruction. And me and my crews, we were there all the time at this brewery. I think I was keeping them in business. And so for the Glorious Destruction release, I was talking to the owners, and I said, hey, I'd like to do a big old line out front. You guys okay with that? And they said, yeah, that sounds great. That's wonderful. And so we showed up a few hours early, 3 or 4 hours early, and started our line then. And started a graveyard, and they, the owners were getting all their stuff ready, and they'd come out and they'd share beers with us. They'd share, they'd bring beers out to share with us that people had given them, and we'd share whatever we were drinking with them. And people would come and buy their Glorious Destruction, and then they'd leave, and they'd come back to come bring us beer in the line and share beers too. So it ended up, there were quite a few of us at various times just out there drinking beers. We got to do that twice. The second time was March 2020, right before everything shut down for COVID. And it was also their last week in business. They had pre-announced that. So it was very sad. But it was going to be a tradition.
The few times that I've ever done the wait in line for a beer, I've always wanted, I just more appreciated the camaraderie with everyone that is in drinking the beer. It's almost like a tailgate to an event. Like you're tailgating for the beer release, so you're drinking before you drink, which is kind of like going to a football game where you drink before you drink. The last time that I did it, though, it was so long ago, and it was a Kunin, and it was some solstice release party. And I remember just waiting in line, and it was right before I think Pipe and Brock started talking to me about the laws in Michigan. So doing that type of line and tailgate is actually illegal in Michigan. To the point where if someone decides from the police or whatever to call, that brewery could lose their brewer's license or have it get suspended, or lose their alcohol license, their serving license. So there's a lot of, once I heard that, I stopped doing it. I stopped partaking in those kinds of things just because I don't want to, just my luck. It's going to be, the guy from Better on Draft is the one we saw at the beer release party that got broken up by the cops.
Yeah, don't worry. That would be me if anyone got caught doing that. So you're safe.
So yeah, I did not want to. One, I didn't want to get the brewery in trouble as much as some breweries like Ascension and a few other breweries don't, they don't mind it. just kind of let it happen. They understand the responsibilities and the possibilities that might happen for them allowing it. So I just personally stopped it, whether they liked it or not, and I'll just go get the beers when I want to get the beers. But I think as we've grown up through this show, I just don't necessarily look around and chase beers anymore. Like I saw more Bourbon County on the shelf this year than I have in most years, and it might be because of the pricing of some of these. I saw regular yesterday or 2 days ago for $18.99, and I'm like, oh no, thank you. I'm not going to spend 19 or 20 bucks after tax on a regular Goose Island beer.
I will say in Indiana, doing the line share outside of the brewery is allowed here. It's we don't have open container laws like that. But if we took them inside, that would be a problem.
Yeah, I wonder what it would be like for at least the breweries that are in social districts now, like your Urban Rest downtown Ferndale, or oh my God, Royal Oak Brewery and Royal Oak. So those might be a little bit different, but at least prior to us having those social districts, that was the law, and that was definitely a no-no.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to be the one who shuts down a brewery either.
Dan, what about you? Anything that you like to do, or maybe family traditions that you have that involve beer, whiskey, alcohol in some realm?
Well, the only tradition family-wise is usually the Christmas morning Bloody Marys. Back when my both of my parents were still around. The only real tradition I have these days is still Black Friday, going to somewhere that they tap BCBS, because there's nothing quite like being able to go get it on draft, and it's usually not around for too long. I noticed you mentioned, still being able to find it. That's everywhere. It doesn't sell like it used to. I feel like they don't even send out as much anymore, but like I can still go to Total Wine and get all the variants except for the 2-year one, at least out here. Those are pretty limited and are gone. But yeah, I really like a noon, 12 o'clock, 1 p.m. on a Friday, going out where somewhere has it tapped and just enjoying a couple of glasses of that while you can actually get it on draft.
I've been enjoying how a lot of breweries have embraced Black Friday as kind of like their big release day for specific beers, or at least having some type of release. Like Oddside does it. There's a few others that are just really like blanking in my mind right now, but I know Oddside always does the Pigeon Hill. Yes.
They usually have an awesome
your mom on French toast usually, or grandma on French toast.
That's when you can get their Mug Club membership too, and that their Mug Club membership always comes with a really awesome gift every year.
I have been a Mug Club member once for 1 year, and that's it.
At Pigeon Hill or in general?
In general.
Oh.
I had a Mug Club to the Downtown Founders Brewery for their grand opening and downtown Detroit, and I never used it. And like 3 months after it expired, I went and grabbed my glass and proceeded to accidentally, and this is truthfully, break the glass within a matter of like 6 hours. And I'm like, oh, well, that was money spent, I guess. I love breweries that have releases, and I think that when breweries do have these releases, I don't feel a need to try the beer anymore. Like I remember having that FOMO, like not wanting to miss. Like I remember a Wednesday when the bar in Ferndale was tapping CBS at like 2 p.m.
Public House.
Yeah, Public House. And I remember bolting out of my apartment in Detroit, going up to Public House just so I could have a taste of it. And it was a fine beer, but then like now I can get CBS anywhere, and I'm like, all right, well, that was kind of worthless to try it. Plus, as I, there's just so much good beer out there these days that I don't feel the need to. Like, I'd rather just go to a brewery and whatever they have. Like, there are times where I want to.
Like BCBS, that was the only barrel-aged stout out there.
Well, that and Dragon's Milk.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But that was back when Dragon's Milk was just Dragon's Milk. There wasn't any variants. There wasn't any additions or anything like that. in Southeast Michigan, obviously you have the 12 Days of Milkshake Stout or Flying Buffalo now, which Flying Buffalo gets released before Black Friday. So the choices for beer is fairly simplistic, but now for me, like if it's a specific style, like a good style release, I might try to go get it. Like when the Fat King over at Loaded Dice, like that's not a barrel aged stout. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll go try that and give that a shot, just because I feel like it's a little bit different and it's not just your standard barrel age. Because I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm drinking this and it's not bad. It honestly just kind of tastes like every barrel aged stout out there these days.
Well, the problem with barrel aged stouts, like this one's good. This doesn't have any. Well, I mean, there is coffee and Speedway, so I guess I should stop there. The problem is you can't get too many barrel aged stouts without adjuncts these days. Outside of BCBS and Dragon's Milk, they all seem to have something in them.
Does Narwhal?
I think a lot of them.
Aged?
There is a barrel.
There's a
It's-
barrel aged narwhal. I don't know if it's both. Sorry, Wendy, what were you saying?
I think a lot of them have like that standard. This is our barrel aged stout. That is like, I'm trying to think of an example. So I was at a brewery in Alabama this past week, and they had El Gordo was their barrel aged stout, and then they had a bunch of different variants like BCBS. So I brought them home.
Well, here in Michigan,
So-
Flying
a lot of
Buffalo. Flying Buffalo has the standard variation and then all of the extra variations that are out there. And it gets to a point where you're almost better off just making a regular beer with those adjuncts. Like I don't necessarily need to have a 16% beer now. Like I'm looking at the most recent Flying Buffalo, like bourbon barrel aged chocolate drizzle cannoli. Like
That's what it is.
that's one of them. There's
You're
also
not making that up.
no, I'm not. That was a 2023 variant of Flying Buffalo.
So, remember when there was
Came all over
Deconstructed
that
Bomb?
stuff.
And maybe it came back. I don't know. But like Prairie did their Deconstructed Bomb. It was a 4-pack of the 4 flavors. I think one was plain, just barrel aged stout that came in the bomb. And so you had 4, I guess there were 12-ounce cans of this thing, or maybe they were bottles. I can't remember. It's been too long. But in theory, you could pour them all together and you'd have a great big bomb again.
I mean, what that probably cost like $112 the way they price their beer.
I don't recall Prairie being too overly expensive in comparison to other beers.
I mean, you'll pay $12-13 for a 12-ounce versus the pint of this one, which was the same.
Yeah, Speedway, we get AleSmith here in Michigan now, and I just haven't necessarily had a chance to do too much about it. But looking at the others, there's obviously other 2023 flavors, I'm guessing, with Flying Buffalo, but according to Untappd, there is also like a churro flavor and then the regular flavor. Like, I don't know. I know I'm the curmudgeon when it comes to all these fucking adjuncts in beer, but kind of like with Fat King, sometimes I don't mind the adjuncts, but I don't need 18% beer or whatever this is. God forbid. I don't know what I'm drinking percentage wise for this beer.
I wish there was a way I could put a "Get Off My Lawn" sign right across Ken right now. I have to figure out how to do that for next show.
I mean, I could probably figure it out. Yeah, 14%. Like, I don't need I'd rather just have a beer, like just a stout with the adjuncts if I want the adjuncts. I don't necessarily always need a barrel-aged beer. Bats McGee over on our Twitch, twitch.tv/Better on Draft. The cannoli Flying Buffalo was delicious. So, Dan, maybe you'll have to seek it out when you're back in Michigan one day.
Yeah, probably not, but
I mean, you'll probably pour a little bit, have a little bit, and then I'll have to pour the rest out, like I've done with every Flying Buffalo that you've opened.
yeah, that's true.
My family doesn't have too much in the realm of alcohol traditions. There's nothing really from like Bloody Marys, like Dan says. We don't have beer shares. Like the kids just kind of bring their own booze, and that's it. The only thing is my godfather, I always buy a Fit the Crown for Christmas. That's what he wants, and that's what he gets. Like he's the easiest person to shop for. I ain't gotta buy anything crazy. I just buy a Fit the Crown, a thing of jelly beans, and it has to be the Jelly Belly. You talk about curmudgeon. He's like, I don't want any of these fancy jelly beans. I want the regular Jelly Belly jelly beans. That's it. And I'm like, all right, that's easy to shop for. So that's the closest that comes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the closest we have to an alcoholic tradition within my family is just the little my gift to him every year.
My family doesn't even drink when they get together.
Do they fight if they do?
My sister and her husband don't drink, so I don't tend to take beer there because they don't. So out of respect to them, I tend to not do that. If we do stuff at my house, I'll have a beer and I'll offer it to other people and they'll drink it. But for the most part, my family doesn't drink when they get together.
Except for you. You're like, oh, more for me, because I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah. If we're at my house, I will, but I don't take it if I'm going to their house.
Oh, gotcha. You don't want to be that person. You're like, yeah, just gonna have a few beers.
No, it's just they don't, so there's really no reason for me to do it. And plus, I'm usually the one driving Graham, so.
Oh, that's fair. So fun, talking about that. Last summer, I went to a wedding here of some people I know. And we went over to their house after the rehearsal, and the bride of the wedding said, like, yeah, you guys can bring beer over, do whatever you want. Saying this too, and we know that the person she was marrying was an alcoholic. We show up, you only two people drinking, like going hard. It's like, oh, why didn't anyone tell me that there wasn't going to be anyone else drinking at this? But I was like, whatever, just kick back, like I don't care. So fun times.
I think unless you're dealing with someone that might be like recovering and you drinking might be a trigger to them, and out of respect, you don't need to drink. But I've had no issues being the only person like drinking at an event or a party or something like that. Like, all right, I'm not bringing 14 ounce or 14% barrel aged beers. I'm just bringing like a 6-pack of Bell's Amber or something somewhere, or even just a few tall boys of Miller Lite. Like, I don't care. I just want to have a few beers and enjoy the company of everyone. But
the other side of that, when I'm the driver, I don't have a problem not drinking at a party where there's booze around either.
No, at that point, if I want to, I just go to Total Wine and grab NA beer too. Like I was the DD for a Halloween party a couple years ago, and I wanted to drink because these guys were. If this sentence makes sense, I hope it does, especially to the people listening. But it was everybody has kids, and they all found babysitters that night. Like that's how wild this party was with the amount of alcohol and intoxication. And I was one of maybe 2 or 3 sober people there that night. And it was a hoot, to say the least, trying to just keep my mind straight, like figuring stuff out. Like I'm hiding in the basement because I'm on a different level. Like they are on six advanced levels of intoxication. I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what to do.
Are you making up a fake party to talk about when you were in high school right now?
No, like I drank when I was in high school.
Oh no, there's a specific party I'm talking about.
I still drank that night, just not as much as other people.
Okay.
That's
just making sure.
Dan's referencing, and like I don't know about your high school parties that everyone had, but my high school parties were just your basic, house party. Parent isn't home, so we have booze and we're just drinking booze. And there was a kid who polished a pint of 151 as if it was fucking.
It was a fifth.
Yeah, in so fast. And one of the scariest things ever, because we had to like call to get his parents to pick him up because this dude was about 350 and like 6'4", and him.
I don't think they make 151 anymore.
Bacardi doesn't. Don Q still does.
Okay, excellent. It still exists out there.
Yeah.
the initial like Bacardi 151 is no longer, but there are 151 proof rums that are out there. I'm sure actually our rum expert who's in the chat right now, Bill, could probably name all the ones that still exist. As he's an actual professional rum drinker, taste tester, judge kind of person. So I know he knows his way around some rum. Wendy, how was your trip? What did you do?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. We hit 15 breweries in 5 different states. Graham tried beer at 3 of them. Her face was like this for almost all of them. She did like the Belgian triple. She said it tasted like bubblegum. Go figure.
All right.
But yeah, that's pretty much what we did. We just kind of hung out and spent some time with my family. I made sure that I did all of my advent calendar TikToks. Man, that's a lot of Pilsner. That's all I have to say.
Oh, Lord.
I cannot wait for this advent calendar to be over with. I like it. I like beer flavored beer. I can't take another Helles.
Yeah, that seems a little
It's just-
cheap to go that route. I don't like that. Ken,
I mean,
didn't you
there's.
do... Go ahead, Wendy. Sorry.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, I was gonna say, Ken, didn't you do a Japanese whiskey advent calendar before?
I did. I actually, you might be able to see over my shoulder, there is still 2 bottles left. Because there are 2 of those bottles. The 1 ounce dram that's in them is market value, like bar value. If you went to a bar and got it, they're like $75 pours
For like an ounce.
Yeah. So those, like the other ones, like I kind of drank. I saved the few that I knew were going to be high value to save to share with someone.
That's fair.
So like in July, I had a buddy come over who he made the mistake to tell me. First of all, I didn't drive up there. So then he made the mistake of saying, my beer is your beer. And this guy had Dark Lords and so many amazing beers, and I was cracking them open and drinking them as if I didn't have to drive, because I didn't. And sure as shit, like I think they tallied it up and I drank like $150 worth of beer.
Oh well.
So I, at one point, this was a while ago, I gave him a 4-pack of KBS, like a 4-year vert that I had just sitting around. I got his wife, there's a beer from Founders that she loves. It was like Big Luscious or something like that. So I had like a couple bottles of those, and then I was like, all right, that's the final payback. It is doing that. All right. So Gordon Barba on our YouTube, so jealous. That'd be awesome to do, referencing Wendy's trips, which we'll go back to in just a minute. Bill in the Facebook chat, Don Q Cruzan is still being made, Hamilton, Lemon Heart, and one from Grenada that I can't remember the name of. So those are the ones that are still making 151. So there's a lot of 151 choices up. You could do a 151 flight.
Yeah,
your heart.
You can.
I don't know if you'd be able to taste that last one.
He figured it out. River Antoine Estate. And then finally on our Twitch page, Gordzilla says, so jealous, would love to travel to all those breweries, Wendy. Well, you went to 15. Give us some highlights. What states were you in? What breweries did you go to? How many flights did you have?
So we started with Country Boy in Kentucky because I had never been there. That was, they had a crazy ton of different styles on tap. It was like 30 some beers that they had on tap, beers and ciders, a wide variety. It was really awesome. Unfortunately, that was a lunch stop, so I had to take some home with me because I could only do a flight.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want to do more of these right now, but I couldn't because I had to drive. Some of the other ones, I actually took a day trip once we got to Alabama. I went and spent the night in Athens, Georgia, so that I could go to Creature Comfort. And we did their beer trail there. That was awesome. They have 6 breweries on their beer trail that are all different styles, and the beer was amazing. One place was doing karaoke. Now, if you know me, I am not a karaoke fan at all. I hate it. It literally is like pure hell for me. This was the most fun karaoke I have ever seen. There was a guy there that was doing like country songs as like screamo metal songs. It was so awesome. Like he did Miranda Lambert's the Hydra Crazy. I don't know what that one's called, but all I remember is that particular line in it. It was the best version I'd ever heard of it. Like they were just playing awesome songs. Like we didn't even want to leave, but we were on a time limit because we had hit 6 breweries in 24 hours. So Creature Comfort was awesome. They have so many more beers than the ones that I've been introduced to in other parts of the state there. Terrapin in Athens was really awesome. I actually am hoping that we can get them on the show because they are doing some really awesome things. They have the best marketing plan I've ever seen in my life too, because they've got their little logo with a state outline for every state that they're in, and they're in like 6 or 7 states. So to me, I'm like, well, damn it. Now I want to go and get one from all the different states. So I just thought that was really cool. I'm like, that's brilliant marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah, Terrapin entered Michigan. I believe they were in as recent as 2021 because I remember them being at the Jackson Beer Festival that myself and our editor went to. And I know they pulled out of Michigan, so they're no longer in Michigan, but I'm pretty sure they're a 10th and Blake company, so they're Molson Coors. So we might be able to see them sometime soon, or at least maybe try to get something done with Atwater here, which is also a Molson Coors company.
So we'll talk about that later. I also went to a place called Good People Brewing. That was the El Gordo in Alabama. That place was amazing. Their beer was so good. My dad didn't want to leave. He actually wanted me. That's where I paid for the 4-pack of the variants, which was way more than I planned on paying for beer there. And he almost asked me, he's like, I kind of want to ask you to leave one of those bottles with me. He's like, but you traveled a really long way to get them. So I gave him other beer.
I have had 3 from Good People. I was down in Alabama a long time ago, but yeah, I had 3 from them.
They're really
I liked
good.
them. Yeah.
And then there was another brewery in Alabama called True Story Brewing, which, I went because I say true story all the time. So that brought it to my attention. But they are a music venue. And they have once a week they have jazz. They have all these different metal concerts. Like it was really cool. I really like that brewery too. But they only had 1 beer of theirs on tap. And everything else was guest beers. So that was kind of disappointing, but the venue was awesome. I would have been there all the time. So, I mean, it was really cool. There was a lot of different breweries that I saw. We did a light show in Alabama at their racetrack that was really cool. That was set to music, but you didn't realize it was set to music until you got like halfway through and you could see like the whole thing all at once changing with the music. That was really cool. That's what I did on my trip. I drank beer and we watched a lot of holiday movies.
Oh, the good old Hallmark channel.
No, they don't have Hallmark. We had to do everything on Netflix because where they're at, they didn't have cable.
I'm trying to think what. There's definitely plenty of those Hallmark type movies though that sprinkle into Hulu and Netflix and Peacock and all those other. I don't know who owns the Hallmark channel these days, but speaking of like holiday movies, we just watched the movie Silent Night with Joel Kinnaman, and it's the second movie in 2023 I've watched that has no dialogue.
What?
And no dialogue the entire movie. And this movie
Why?
is why I that's a great question. For this one, because he can't talk. He got shot in the throat.
Okay.
So that's why he can't talk. I don't know why all the people he killed couldn't talk, or why Kid Cudi, who plays the cop, couldn't talk. I guess
So
they didn't like.
Let's be clear for the people out there. So this isn't the 2012 classic Silent Night that has the Santa Claus going around killing people.
Correct.
Right?
No, this is
we're not talking about the same movie.
2023 Silent Night starring Joel Kinnaman and Kid Cudi.
We do not watch
no.
the same Christmas movies.
Dan, why don't you tell me about the Killer Santa Claus?
Oh, well, there's that one's good. I'm trying to remember the name of the one that has the robot killer Santa, which is even more ridiculous. In fact, I watched it the other day, not on the right computer. I still have it on uTorrent. But yeah, there's a lot of good, horror Christmas movies. God, there's another one that just came out this year too, and I can't even think of the name of it.
Justin Long just came out with one. He's apparently having a renaissance of horror flick.
Those are the only good Christmas movies. In fact, I'm watching the trailer from Silent Night 2012, and Santa electrocuted someone with Christmas lights, like an electric chair. See, this is good Christmas. Everyone's like, yeah, sure.
There's one that came out last year called Violent Night.
That's what I'm thinking of. Was it last year?
Yeah, that's the one with oh my god, the guy from David Harbour. David Harbour's in it, John Leguizamo's in it. I really couldn't tell you the rest of the cast, but it's like Santa because David Harbour plays the actual Santa, and they're like a family gets like kidnapped, and they're trying to be exploited for their money, and Santa saves the day. And there's like a whole homage to Home Alone in the thing, from what I remember. We watched that last year, for sure. I haven't seen the horror. Have you seen the horror Thanksgiving movie that came out this year?
You mean Thanksgiving? Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of Halloween. No, there's a horror Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It just came out this year. It's called Thanksgiving. It's not campy like Thanksgiving is with the murderous turkey. I just also learned that there's at least 2 sequels to that movie too that I did not know about that I need to go watch. But yeah, there's like a Thanksgiving horror movie that came out too. There's a lot of new horror that's coming out that, for all of the repeats that we're getting with like the Child's Play TV show and Scream 6 and the continuation of the Conjuring universe, like we're still getting a decent amount of horror flicks out there that's new and interesting. Like Old was pretty good. Truth or Dare was good. The new Goosebumps show was pretty good. If you haven't watched that, that's on Hulu, I think.
The new Saw movie was pretty good.
I'm gonna be honest. Somebody said Spiral. Are you talking about Spiral or Saw X?
No, Saw X, yeah. Spiral's really good too.
Somebody told me to watch Spiral. It's not as, in the term I always use, murder porny, as the other Saw movies are.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. And it's a different story, so it is kind of disconnected from the
other
ones.
I started it, and like 3 minutes in and something fucking awful is happening. I'm like, this is not for me.
That happens in every Saw movie though, no matter what it is. So.
But that's the thing though, is that I think I've passed the phase of wanting to watch that. Like I thought Hostel was an awesome movie and I probably would never want to watch it again because
I also need this get off my lawn thing to go across, Ken, because you're on a streak tonight, man.
Because my preferences change as I've gotten older. What was that, Wendy?
I've never seen a single Saw movie.
Oh, they're worth watching. They're pretty good.
I have seen a couple of Hostels.
I watched the first Hostel, and then I remember the beginning of the second Hostel, which like kind of finishes the first one and then goes off into its own story. it was a really interesting movie, an interesting concept, but I think at some point it got kind of repetitive. And I know it kind of goes from what's his name? I think John something. The main protagonist to that one girl that he saves turning into actual villain.
Well, that's the fun thing about Saw X that you actually bring that up. This actually happens between Saw 1 and 2. Or no, actually just prior to Saw 1, I believe, because they're both still alive. I don't want to spoil anything, even though it came out a while ago, but they've done a lot of interesting concepts with that. I mean, was it 3 and 4 that were actually happening at the same time? Either 3 or 4 or 4 and 5. You find out at the end of the second one, they were actually both happening simultaneously.
Well, the same thing happened to me with the Final Destination series. Like I watched like the first 2, maybe even 3, and that was it. Like I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of it's the exact same movie over and over and over again, just different ways to die and different ways to like cheat death. Like, what did they learn this time? Of course, I'm still like scarred for life. I don't know about you guys, but like getting behind a log truck on a freeway, still like one of the scariest things ever.
Fucking trains.
Like,
I'll be 3 people back from trains, 3 cars back if I'm the first person on a train. And if people honk at me, I'll just be like, go around. I don't even care. Go around. Not doing it. I saw that guy get decapitated. We're not doing it.
That was Stifler, Sean William Scott.
Yeah,
I remember that
absolutely.
the exact part. But you know, we're kind of talking about how these movies, Saw X, Final Destination, like 5 or 6 came out. Like there's still a lot of good new horror out there that I've been enjoying. I mean, I'm kind of a horror guy, minus the murder gore porn, the get off my lawn versions of.
So you're more of a killer horror. Clowns and out from outer space kind of horror.
I actually have never watched that movie.
It's worth it just for the laughs.
Are you more into the jump scares than the gore part of it?
I like thriller and
like the song, the music video.
Yes, like the song and the music video. Thriller, monster. I'm always good for a good killer monster movie. Like even if it's campy, great. I don't care. If it tries to be real and good, like Cloverfield, you know, like when we're on like Tremors 7 or 8 right now, like that was such a funny,
I'll tell you
funny
what,
one to
Tremors
finish.
about the worms?
Yeah, the graboids, the underground giant worms that come up and eat you. They hunt by sound.
What was the one with Betty White and the alligator?
Lake Placid?
Yeah. That one was, I like that one.
I'll tell you, you mentioned Cloverfield. That is the biggest fail that had so much potential, I think, as far as movies go.
I enjoyed the sequel with John Goodman, the 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think that was like not supposed to be a sequel, and they turned it into one.
Yeah, and you know, it really wasn't until the very end. You know, the whole thing, it was weird, but I think I like that one the most too, because he was really good in that.
Somebody in the chat said that they're waiting for the sequel to the 1992 classic Dead Alive. I've never heard of it, but it's got an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
right up your alley.
Peter Jackson, I have no idea. What this is. So
are we ever going to get a sequel to that awesome movie from 1988 called They Live with our boy Roddy Piper?
Is that the one with the that's supposed to be like Duke Nukem character?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum.
Yeah. I don't even think I've seen that. I've seen plenty of like videos and clips from it on, you know, social media, YouTube, etc. But I don't think I've ever actually seen that movie. I mean, as I mentioned, are you all 3 of you horror buffs? You're awfully quiet, Rob. Not a big.
I am not a horror buff. No, I mean, they're fine. But I would never pick a horror movie.
So I'm
probably
a big
watch one if one was on.
Like horror video games, I'm all about. I don't really watch a lot of movies. Like I love the Saw movies, but horror games, like Dead by Daylight, we've played that religiously. Alan Wake 2 that just came out. There's a lot of great horror games out there if you like that kind of thing that I think are actually better than a lot of movies in most ways.
What exactly makes it a horror game?
The setting, the same type of setting as a movie. Like Dead by Daylight, you're getting chased by one of the killers, whether it be, is it Leatherface that they put in there, Michael Myers, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Alan Wake, I'm not going to go into spoiling it because Alan Wake 2 is still pretty new. Yeah, but it's an entire horror story about getting trapped somewhere, and go read the synopsis definitely if you want to take a look. But it's a great horror movie or horror game.
Yeah, I stopped watching horror movies when I stopped helping put haunted houses together.
Haunted houses are fun.
I mean, for those
They
who
are
can go
fun.
through them.
I don't need to put them together anymore, so I don't need to do the research. So I don't watch, like, Jaws is as horror as it gets for me.
I mean, that's a monster movie.
Yeah.
There was, like, as Dan said, Dead by Daylight, is definitely a lot of fun. There was a game that I loved playing because I love like horror mystery games. Like Emily Wants to Play was a really good one. The issue is that there's a lot of indie trash horror movie like games that are just there to like give you the jump scare. There is one that's pretty cool that it's tied to your microphone. And you're not supposed to scream or make a sound or anything like that, and it like triggers your microphone, and that's how you die, is you make too much noise.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It just came out not too long ago. I don't know the name of it, but I've seen plenty of it on, because I watch a lot of creators that play Dead by Daylight. They'll get into some other horror genre type games themselves. But the Walking Dead Telltale, Wendy, you'd probably like that. It's not horror as much as it's very good story based, and it's decision making, game altering events. So there's not really much where you got to like time a specific jump to do something crazy. Like you just kind of go through the game and make decisions, and the game plays through. Kind of like Life. Oh my God, what's the Life is Good? Life is not Life of Pi.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it though.
It's the one with the young high school girl protagonist, and she has like a power or something like that. Man, I am brain fogging today, that's for sure. Life is Strange.
That's it.
Yep. That's it. But yeah, another one of those games that's it's a horror game, kind of like a edge of your seat thriller, but it's more based on the reactions that you make. Like, because you pissed off this character earlier in the game, this character is now going to screw you over, 6 scenes later.
Yeah,
so it's like Baldur's Gate 3.
I will read horror. Stephen King was one of my favorite authors since I was like junior high. I remember, I think I was in like 7th or 8th grade the first time I read Pet Sematary. Like I was young. It was very early for that type of material. And I like mystery, suspense, thrillers, that kind of stuff. But for movies, one, I don't get a lot of time to watch movies without Graham. And she's not about any type of horror or gore at all.
I can see that.
So I don't know. I think it's weird that I don't like movies like that, but I'll read that book every day.
Bill in the chat saying the last movie he watched in that style was The Serpent and the Rainbow back in 1989. Not
a little while.
Yeah,
Ken wasn't even born yet.
Hey, I was born. Thank you.
Were you like 2?
Those 3.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Pet Sematary. That's another movie that just had a new version of it. That just came out on Paramount, I think. So that came out
on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, it might have been on Paramount Plus. There is a new series, and I'll leave it with this because we're about to go into our break. We will be back for those listening live at about 8:25 p.m. Eastern. But like Paranormal Activity, that's basically where my like what I like in a movie, like a little jump scare, a little like keep you on your edge of your seat. Is something going to happen? Is nothing going to happen? What's going on? What's the story? Why is the demon there? You know, what's happened? And I remember, I think it was number 2, which had the demon and the Kinect was on, like the Xbox Kinect. And the demon's shadow was like shown through the Xbox Kinect, like somebody was walking through, but you couldn't see somebody walk through. But they're like the found footage phenomenon, which is a documentary that just came out, really did a great job of talking about how the found footage movie style came about, from Blair Witch to Paranormal Activity to I think it's called Megan is Missing, which is that's a rough watch for anyone. Don't go watch that if you don't have to.
So you know what? You brought up the found footage thing. I'll drop this real quick. I'm sure you've seen it, Ken, but the Backrooms, the original creator of it, that's absolutely amazing. If you like found footage stuff.
Is that the Italian flick or is that something else?
No, it's on YouTube. Look it up. People listening will probably know, but it's really good if you like found footage type things.
I do. There was because they talk about Bruce Willis's Bruce Willis's commentary during an interview, saying that how, as he's getting interviewed, he said sooner or later some kid in a school, like a movie school, is going to figure out a way to make a movie with this camera for like $10,000 and blow us out of the water and make a shit ton of money. And then like that's like the start of the documentary, and then it goes to the Blair Witch Project and talks about all the Blair Witch Project stuff. This is Better on Draft. Beer and movies apparently today, horror movies. That is going to do it for this episode. Have a great holiday. Think about starting a tradition with your family, you know, maybe a specific tradition. Maybe you get a new bottle of beer or a new fifth of whiskey, something to try for the family as you guys are together. Everyone gets a little dram and enjoys it. But that is going to do it for this episode 336. We will be back, though, 8:25 p.m. Eastern, as we go over the craft beer news. That is going to do it for myself, Wendy, Rob, and Dan. Thank you so much for joining us live, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Kick. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Cheers.
The city, trouble in my mind. I'm way too young and pretty for things to be unkind. Time is all we have now, so let's make something while we can. I'm headed for the city to make me start again. Conversation now and then. Gotta go, gotta get it. Don't make things go south, baby. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh. I'm headed for the city, see what I can unwind. Always gotta start it to dictate, make it in this life. Time is all we have now, so let's make something while we can. I'm headed for the city to make me start again. Conversation now and then. Gotta go, gotta get it. Don't make things go south, baby. say you get too woken. They just can't find a little soul. Light up a cig and let's get talking. Talking that rock and roll is more than just a style to play. You can get you what you need, just let it take you away. If you're ever feeling down, forget about the bullshit, dance your worries away. People say you get too woken. They just can't find a little soul. Light up the cig and let's get talking. Talking that rock and roll. Sit right back, relax and chill. Let me lead you on your trip, see how that rhythm feels. Don't let troubles cloud your mind. It's only in your head, you are so mighty fine. Where the monkeys swing, screaming, yelling, not caring about a thing. It's magical, so magical. I know a place where the elephants swim. Their great big trunks just peeking through the brim. It's magical, so magical. Ha ha. Where the lions dwell, get cuddled up and cozy as well. It's magic. But all the pretty birds and the lions too, they don't compare to the looks on you. You're so magical, your beauty's magical. With your hair so
Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Welcome, everybody, to the Craft Beer News segment. It is December 22nd, 2023, as we reach near the end of the year. I am so thankful for you joining us. Of course, you can watch us live Friday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern. The news right to follow. With that in mind, let's go over see what everybody is drinking, starting with Wendy. Wendy, what do you have?
I am still drinking a Mad Elf from Trogs and a Tropicalia from Creature Comforts.
And Rob, what do you got?
I did it. I have day 22.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. It's Jungle Raja. It's brewed by the Brew Kettle for Jungle Gyms. It was as excited to be out today as I am to have it.
Dan?
Working on that midnight run from 12 West, and if somehow I get through it, got a Malpace from La Cumbre.
Perfect. Each and every week when we go over the craft beer news, we talk about some news that we want to discuss a little bit. We don't go over necessarily all of the biggest and baddest news of craft beer, just the stuff we think you should know about. And I want to hear, Dan, what do you think people should know about today?
You must have looked at my link to see what I'm talking about. So here we go. Snoop Dogg bursts into the cannabis beverages with Death Row Drink. Had to talk about this one, number one, because here we go with the celebrity of Snoop Dogg of all people. He seems to have his hands in everything from the NHL to, cannabis companies to just about everything you can think of. Kind of shocking. What's that?
Who'd have thought?
Dude, Snoop, I know, of all people, back going from on trial for murder to like one of the most popular people in America, if not the world. Kind of surprised he went with the Death Row name. I'm probably Suge Knight whenever he gets out of prison, assuming that's where he is. I'll probably be mad about that, but really had to talk about this because of the names of these. There's 4 flavors out there. We got the Blood Orange, which is called Get Up. Blue Raz, the Shiznit is what that one's called. Cherry Limeade, the Lottie Dottie, and Peaches and Honeys, which is the Pump Pump. So, Wendy, we know you like to try everything that celebrities put out. We know you're the Kid Rock beer fan, if I remember. Just teasing you, but you always told us you'll try any of these. Do you think this is going to be the new trend now with celebrities getting into cannabis? We've seen them get into beer. During the previous episode, one of you mentioned, I think it was you, Ken, mentioned Three Floyds. They've made beers with a million different metal bands. Is this the new thing getting into the cannabis drink industry? Because this is going to be offered in both CBD only and a CBD THC combo. So is that where we're going, and is that the new trend? Ken, I'll start with you. You seem to know a lot about these type of things, probably more than Rob. I don't know if you do, but Ken seems to know a lot about this field more than most of us, I think. That's not a dig, no, but more knowledge. Go ahead.
I mean, for someone who doesn't smoke at all, I do dabble into the THCs a little bit, typically with drinks and gummies. This is, I think, the obvious next realm. There's going to be a lot of these organizations, not necessarily in the drink area, teaming up with celebrities to get specific deals to promote their THC brand or their gummy brand or their weed strain. And Snoop Dogg's probably one of the biggest gets you can find, simply because when everyone thinks about Snoop Dogg, obviously they think about weed itself. It kind of goes hand in hand with the accoutrement that is Snoop Loop, undefeated at WrestleMania Snoop Dogg. So for me, these are definitely low THC and low CBD drinks. These don't reach the levels that you get with most, even like small time gummies that you get. So I personally don't know if I would be too crazy to spend. There's one that's got 3 milligrams of THC and 5 milligrams of CBD for a 12-ounce can for $6 a can. But I guess that kind of harkens to our ABV to dollar theory of beer that we've talked about before. Is there a THC milligram to dollar?
Well, that's you bring up a good point, because I don't know about that at all. So what's an average drink? Two Roots, I believe, was into this, but I don't ever remember talking to them about that as far as the THC version. What's an average milligram of THC? in one of these beverages.
I'm looking it up right now if you want to stretch a little bit.
So is when Snoop said he was going to stop smoking, is this what he meant? He was moving to this instead?
Well, there is a line in here, and this is from him. As I take the next step forward in my smoking evolution, this is where he's going. Yeah. So perfect transition, apparently. So he's going from smoking to just drinking beverages.
Okay.
Now,
Good for him.
we do know there are alcohol variants with THC in them. Ken, is that something you've ever tried?
Yes. The plenty of times that I've been in Seattle, I would definitely get some. There was a wit beer that had THC in it that I would get every time that I was kind of in there to kind of enjoy, especially if I wasn't planning on like drinking that night. Like I just wanted something to maybe help me go to sleep. For me, I think so. The giving up smoke thing, I don't think he's actually giving up smoking. It was a ad campaign for like a outdoor fire pit that didn't smoke, so it didn't like smoke like a fire pit would, and like you get that like smoke into you. So yeah,
right.
he's not
That is
actually
an awesome
giving
fire
up.
pit.
He's not giving up smoking. It was not necessarily a scam, but like a play on words.
Yeah.
He's not giving up
A
the
mislead
weed
for the
itself.
headlines and the short, clickbait and all.
Yeah, for sure. So for this, I mean, at $5 a drink, sure, you'll probably get enough people that will want to have it, try it, and drink it. But if it's going to taste like bad and you're not going to get a decent high out of it, like I don't know. Like I always feel like the best part of some of these RTDs and seltzers and stuff is the fact that you're getting at least a little buzz from it. You're not, drinking these really poor flavors just to.
Are you
drink
saying
them.
peaches and homies or peaches and honeys is not your style of drink?
I
That's
wouldn't
totally
lean.
what I would try.
The shiznit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the peaches and homies or honeys or whatever.
Peaches and
that's
honeys,
the one I
the
would
pump
try.
pump.
Yeah, so the pump is a 25 milligram CBD at $5 a can. You can get like a tin of 20 25 milligram, or not 25, 10 milligram gummies for like $20.
Yeah, that's
So
the same here.
the
could be
amount
wrong.
of THC you're getting, you're paying more for the beverage obviously than the THC, and at that point then I want the beverage to meet some kind of standard. So
Like a White Claw
mean-
non-alcoholic seltzer.
yeah, I don't know how they're going to get away with that, but they will, and I know that. The cherry limeade obviously interests me just because it kind of fits within the flavor profile that I'm looking for, but like Blue Raz, aka the Shiznit, not necessarily for me. Who knows? This might be into the realm of people are maybe making some type of mocktails with THC. If we get into the world of like THC cocktails, this might roll into that world, but it doesn't really do it for me. I'm not a big fan of Snoop Dogg. Don't hate him. Don't care too much. And yeah, I probably just wouldn't buy this because there's nothing in it that really I can't get in other variations, whether it's other types of products, edibles, or vape or anything like that.
So aka Ken will buy it because he can't get high unless he drinks like 5 of them. What about you, Rob?
Okay, so I've tried pot a few times, and let's just say I've never enjoyed it. It's always made me super paranoid and just not feel great. So I'm not that excited for it. And and then the Snoop Dogg tie-in, I would share the picture with my friends of all these beers because they would appreciate the names. But that's about, or these aren't beers, but these beverages, that's about as far as it would go. As to mixers, they're just kind of seltzers, I would expect at that point. Just seltzers with THC and CBD.
I was wondering, are they carbonated? I don't think I saw in here if they are, but that's interesting. I wonder what they actually. I would assume they are seltzers, so we'll kind of assume that. I'm going to try and take a look. And looking at the cans, I think they might be. But what about you, Wendy? Is this something? I know you like to try a lot of gimmick things. You talk about it all the time. Is
I
this
do.
something you would try?
I love gimmicks. I would
Not
definitely
making fun
try
of
it.
you. You just talk about it all the time. So
No, I totally will own that I love the gimmick stuff. I would definitely try the peach and honeys just because I find that interesting. So Snoop Dogg also has the gin and juice cocktails.
that's right. The
Which
RTD.
I've never tried, but it makes sense. You asked earlier about, do you think this is the next thing that celebrities are going to be endorsing this? I think it's very celebrity related. Like from the very beginning, Snoop has been about smoking. And so I think that it makes sense for him to do something like that. It wouldn't make sense for like Taylor Swift to do it. So,
Well, everyone would buy it if she did,
I mean,
because
if
Lord
he
knows
did, they
why.
would sell out and you'd never be able to get them, and it would be like $50 for a can. But
Here's the one thing, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's important for people to understand, because weed is still federally illegal. It is still a Schedule 1 drug. Therefore, wherever he sells this, which is my guess, California, is going to be the only state that's going to be able to sell it. Nobody else, or Texas, it looks. Oh no, I can't be Texas. 'cause
Yeah, he's
Texas.
partnering with the Texas.
Yeah, he's partnering with a Texas company, but it's got to be made somewhere else. So wherever he takes the actual drink, that's the only state you're going to be able to get it. So for a lot of us, like here in Michigan or now Ohio, Illinois, etc., like we're probably not going to be able to try it because it's only going to be in one state. And that's kind of where I don't know if you're going to get a lot of celebrities necessarily getting into the weed business until we remove the Schedule 1 or legalize marijuana as a federal legal product, because you're just limited to one state.
So it has to be, so I understand correctly, wherever you have basically the THC put in, because I know they have to ship it off to do that. Wherever that's done is where you can sell it. Is that
Correct? Yes.
Okay.
Because the weed can't cross state lines. That's a federal.
right.
I remember Two
Federal
Roots talking
offense.
about. Yeah, I remember Two Roots telling us they had to ship off the drinks to have it done. So wherever you're sending it to, it has to be sold there.
Yeah, so like for Two Roots, wherever they sell it, the weed is inputted in that state.
Into the drink. Okay.
Yeah,
That
so
makes
Two
sense
Roots in Michigan was always just NA beer, whereas Two Roots in Colorado was NA and THC and CBD and stuff. But
Okay.
if you go to, I don't even believe we have any type of drink producer here in Michigan at this time. And I say at this time just because I know Blake's and the team behind the Pleasantries, I believe, is the Blake's THC weed organization. They're working on a THC seltzer for production, but I don't think it's for sale quite yet in Michigan.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I also am not I can't do weed because I have stuff to do. And if I smoke, I don't want to do anything. So I got too much shit to do. I can't smoke it. So, but I know that there's a lot of younger people who are coming up that are choosing to smoke rather than drink. So I wonder if this will pick up because of that.
I feel like it will, especially as more states legalize this. You know, God, I hate even talking about people I know in personal life because I'm not going to name names, obviously. And Ken, you and I knew someone who was like this. But there are people who are into doing this. They smoke it or do edibles all day, every day. They work while they're doing that, everything. I don't understand how. You know, it's one of the last things I want to do. I just don't like the way it makes me feel. But there are people just function daily. You know, you've always talked about functional alcoholics. I mean, there are functional people that are high 24/7. It kind of blows my mind.
Well, I have friends that when they smoke, it energizes them and they want to get shit done. But I am not that person. Not at all. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I haven't tried a whole bunch of different strands, but I'm assuming that it doesn't really matter, that that's the way my body reacts to it. So I just had to be like, nope, I'm an adult now and I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I feel
We-
ya.
Just makes me
We
pace.
do have yeah, we do have to look at marijuana as almost like a pharmaceutical industry. There are strains that energize you, strains that make you tired, strains that make you focus, strains that make you the ebbs and flows of each strain. They've been doing so much research and energy into marijuana these days that you can cultivate what you want through the marijuana, where you can wake up and be like, oh, I got a lot of shit to do today. I'm going to smoke this blunt that has this specific strain because I know it's going to help me focus and get shit done today. Whereas there's another one where my, ex just broke up with me and I'm sad and I need something to kind of like mellow me out so I'm not too overly depressed. So that's the way we need to look at marijuana as an industry as a whole. Jason Flanders on X/Twitter says going to be the next Four Loko. Now there's no caffeine allowed in RTD cocktails. I don't think he's wrong. I think it will be, as one of you said, this next generation's Four Loko. It's going to be what the kids want. The price is not too cost prohibitive for a lot of kids to get into marijuana, where you don't necessarily need to break the bank to get a blunt to get high for a night. It's probably cheaper to get high for a night than going to a bar and having a few drinks.
Oh yeah.
So I do foresee that being this generation's Four Loko, this generation's group. And that's the important thing, as he says, the government has to figure out how to double tax it. The government just needs to figure out how to tax it, not codify it, but
They got to get it off the schedule.
regulate it, how to
That's
properly regulate it, tax it.
Easy.
And
You talk about the federal government. That's easy for them to do. The last three presidents said they were going to do it and just haven't. So
yeah,
make
there's
that how you want.
I feel like the only way, I'm going to be honest, the only way I think you might get it done is if you could pull off a constitutional amendment and get 33 states.
Yeah. It's the only way you're getting a constitutional.
So it's probably coming. So to get off the schedule, you have to be able to come up with dosing recommendations and have to know how it affects people and things. So, and because it's been on the schedule, it's really hard to do that research, and there was no money in it. But suddenly, there is money in figuring that out and getting it off the schedule. So there are, I'm sure, groups out there doing the needed research in order to find the safe levels and get it off the schedule.
Well, as we're still doing this here in Ypsilanti, Michigan, like we're looking to decriminalize mushrooms next. Like there is a lot of purposeful, honest research going into things like mushrooms, ayahuasca, these drugs that we have, federal issues with just because they're quote unquote illegal. When in reality, like we look at one of the big pushes for the marijuana regulation and, or deregulation of marijuana in a lot of states is all the things that it's been doing for veterans and the ability to address their pain, to address their mental levels, their PTSD. Like these things are helping so much that when you get that backing of veteran organizations, you get a lot of people going, and you're starting to see that with the ayahuasca, with the mushrooms, where if you can get, as Rob said, and Rob brings up a great point, a proper study, proper dosage, proper, platform.
We got all these things with THC oil, and that's even less known than these weird strains of cannabis out there that they come in all sorts of different strengths and no way to measure that strength. So yeah, all that stuff is missing. That's part of why it can't get off.
Chances are the FDA is already doing those types of studies, but it takes them like 10 to 15 years to get anything approved.
Yeah.
Anything.
So it's funny you mentioned the mushrooms. You and I know another person They're finding a lot, especially with PTSD, other issues that have come up, mental issues, especially for veterans, that it is helping a lot. It's getting them off of things. Ketamine's always been a popular treatment for veterans going through that type of thing. These mushrooms, again, we're at something natural, kind of like marijuana, that is really helping these individuals. So hopefully that's going to be the next thing. There are already countries where it is. For example, the Netherlands, for example, you can get mushrooms just like you can marijuana. So hopefully that is something that's going to come down the pike eventually. We know how fast the government works, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think with that, it's going to be let's call it what it is, the more progressive cities that are open to legalizing or decriminalizing these, like here in Michigan, Ann Arbor and Ferndale. Like those are two very liberal, progressive areas. So those are going to be the places that kind of start the trend. Going back to the original topic of Snoop Dogg getting THC and alcohol. Bill Carney says that he did a little research and he says Happy, Highly Casual, and Jones Soda have THC beverages. I did not know Jones Soda was in the THC beverage edition in Michigan. I just went to the Sticky Ipsy website, so I didn't really do too much research as much as Bill Webmaster Carney over there, who's doing great things over on our website. We appreciate Bill out there. But yeah, so there's plenty to go, but I feel like there will be a explosion. Like you're gonna get your Taylor Swift weed when it gets federally legalized. But until it gets federally legalized, the T Sweezy strain of THC.
Don't do that.
The TH Sweezy.
You better. Keep that handy and make sure we sue when that happens.
Bill, give me trademark links. I need to register TH Sweezy.
Don't do that.
All right, I think I killed that topic.
Yeah,
Wendy, what do you want to talk about today?
So I found it is the time of year for lists. So I found the Detroit Free Press has put out a list of the top 12 Michigan craft beers of 2023. Now, I'm going to say that this list is specifically Brian Manzullo from the Free Press. That is his choices. So let's talk about them and see what we think. The first one is Paulding Mystery Light Lager. It's a 5.5% ABV lager, obviously, from Broadleaf. Has anybody tried that?
No, man.
Nope.
I don't know
if distribute.
If they do, it's Michigan only. It's the same owners as Vivant.
Oh, okay.
I can get it every now and then over by me. Not all the time. I grab it whenever I can see it because I don't want to drive all the way to Grand Rapids for it. But I like everything that Broadleaf does, so I can't see why I wouldn't drink that. The next one is the Mean Mallow Bean Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Stout from Drafting Table. It is a 14.2%. Obviously, it's a bourbon barrel aged stout. I love this one. I'm actually a Mug Club member of Drafting Table so that I can get it because I couldn't get it for a long time unless I went and sat in the brewery and drank it.
This is this is the Nintendo Switch beer referenced because this one can of beer, or it might have been a bottle at that time, was traded for a Nintendo Switch back in 2016 or 2017, I believe. Great conversation. Go check out one of our older episodes, the Drafting Table episode.
They opened?
Not the first one, the day before they opened. But one of their more recent ones when they came into the studio, they actually brought one. But that was sadly the same weekend that we lost Rob's mother, and that was Rob's favorite beer. And they went above and beyond and made sure Rob got a bottle because he couldn't make it to the show that night. So yeah, Drafting Table. Yes. Aaron and Kristen over there are amazing people. And that's something that, for us in the industry, they would do. But I want to make sure to give them the proper props for doing something like that, especially for Rob, for what he was going through at that time.
But yeah, trading in a Nintendo Switch guy.
So the
hastily
next-
would- But yeah, go ahead, Wendy. Sorry.
The next one is the Poppin' Tropic Fruited IPA from Battle Alley Brewing Company. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know about Battle Alley. Do we have that
Yeah.
one?
Where's the battle?
It is on the Michigan Brewery Map app. It is up in Holly, Michigan. I believe they have a full restaurant and kitchen there from when I went there. I did go before they opened for the day, dropping off an MBMA decal. But yeah, it is a nice little spot. It's one of those spots that when we talk about a brew pub or a brewery kind of holding the city together and being that one local spot, that's what Battle Alley is for sure for the people of Holly.
Awesome. I am putting that down on my list to go visit. The next one is a pumpkin cheesecake sour ale from Berserk Brewing Company.
Oh,
Anybody
what?
had that? A
I don't-
pumpkin cheesecake sour ale.
Is that considered a pumpkin beer, Dan? It's a cheesecake beer.
Pumpkin cheesecake sour? Get out of here.
I don't
So-
think they made a pumpkin beer better. Did they?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't like pumpkin beers, but I was very intrigued by this, and I was really bummed because I couldn't go to the Fall Beer Festival this year, and that was one of the ones that they had out there. That was actually the one that would have been on my list to go and try, just because it sounds interesting. So I'm very interested that it made it on this list as something that you need to try.
I would try it. My friend flies kites up there in Grand Haven every year, and he goes to this place and he goes to Oddside. Oddside?
Oh, outside's great.
Yeah,
Probably.
outside's
Yeah.
over there.
Flies kites. We're going to have to talk about that later. I have friends that do that as well. So the next one is the Magenta West Coast IPA, which did you guys get to try that?
I have not had the opportunity to grab a can yet from any of the people who have made it. I know that the City Built and Batch Brewing are the originators, but I'm pretty sure Loaded Dice made a batch. Three Gatos has made a batch. So
Yeah,
there
there's
you go.
been a few
7
breweries
Michigan
I've
breweries
noticed
have made it.
that have followed it. So I love both Batch and City Built, so it doesn't surprise me that this would have made the list. I am really bummed. We had stuff going on, and I had it planned on being at the release party and couldn't make it, and I haven't been to Batch since to get any. So I'm hoping there's still some there that I can pick up. The next one is Boar's Gone Fishing Russian Imperial Stout. There's a
Ooh,
12.6 ABV from Loaded Dice Brewing, in collaboration with Heights Brewing Company founder Ryan Kavanaugh. Anybody got that one yet?
So if they had it when we were there, I had it for sure. If not, unfortunately, no.
So I think it came out after we were there.
Oh, bummer.
I do
Yeah,
think
it
came out
was
we were there,
after.
because I think I would have remembered that one. But again, Loaded Dice and Heights Brewing are very good beer, so I can't imagine that it's going to be bad. Like, I think that's a good choice. The next one's a Harvest Triple 2023 from Stormcloud Brewing. You know I'm all about
Shout
that
out to
one. So
Frankfurt. Yeah, shout out to Frankfurt, Michigan.
I've never really had anything from Stormcloud that I didn't like. So I can't imagine that that's a bad choice.
I've been up there
Uh,
once. I had to work up there, and I drove up there at like 7 a.m. Fixed the problem in like 10 minutes. So I got there at like 11. And then had a beer and a way too big thing of popcorn. And then drove home.
Like one of those places that has a popcorn machine where you can just
It's
go
not
fill it up.
it's not a popcorn machine. It's you get like a plated popcorn and they put like toppings on it, almost like nachos, but popcorn.
wow. That's kind of awesome.
It was like $5, and I'm like, oh, you know,
Oh, they
$5
charge
for a
you
thing.
for it.
Oh yeah, they put like actual ingredients on there, like jalapenos and
Okay, I
like
gotcha.
when I say nachos, I mean nachos, not like not anything less than that. So yeah, this is also the place where there was a rumor going on at the production facility about how do I want to say this without getting banned in any page?
here we go.
Harvesting adrenochrome.
I was gonna say if you want to message me it, and I'll say it.
Yeah, there was a woman who was so hell bent and believed that this big production facility that Stormcloud purchased and built up there was basically like a trafficking venue for adrenochrome and children.
Were they looking for the
Aw.
basement? Was this
Yes.
like a
Yes,
I've
that-
actually never met
that-
anybody from Stormcloud.
That kind of thing. All right.
Breaking Bad situation, like looking under the machine, the canning line?
I'm pretty sure this kind of came up when we had Jester King on, and we got the message from Jester King to not mention at that time about the lady that was talking about how Jester King was doing the exact same thing.
I
I'm like,
remember that.
I didn't even know that was happening, but what's going on? That's so they're like, they don't want to talk about it. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it either, but I want to know about it.
No, we just want to know. Spill that tea. Anyways,
Isn't there?
Stormcloud
hold on,
is an
real-
amazing place. You should
Yeah.
go there. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, so just going back to Jester King, didn't he tell us he has like a cellar or a basement there, like where he keeps the good beer? Maybe I'm misremembering this.
I
And they-
don't remember. That was a lot of episodes.
A lot of
ago and a lot of
episodes
beers
ago. That was a COVID episode. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Wendy.
We don't need to start a rumor.
Yeah.
So the
Fair
next
enough.
one is the Devil's Blood Black Lager from Royal Oak Brewery.
Oh, that sounds good.
This was,
Wow.
I believe, my winning beer from the Summer Beer Festival. If I recall correctly, I had this at the Summer Beer Festival 3 times. I kept going back. It was that good. And what sucked is that Royal Oak Brewery was the furthest brewery. So anytime I wanted it, I had to
Of course they
walk
were.
not the back 40, the back 400. That's where they
Oh.
were.
Yeah, that
Um,
festival's big.
The last brewery in the last tent. And I still went. That
Gotta
beer
work
was
for that
so
one.
good.
Yeah, you got to work for that one.
Multiple times. That is definitely a good beer. So I always say this one wrong, I'm sure, but I call it the Me Triple New England IPA. It's probably my. It's MI, but I don't know. What do you
Well,
guys
yeah,
think?
Spanish would
What
be
is it called? Is it Me?
That
That's
would
the
be
way you spell the
Spanish.
note, like do re mi.
Yeah, but usually in Michigan, we
Okay,
always say
so that's what I
my
call
when
it.
it
So
when it comes to pronouncing MI, like
Right.
my beer box was MI beer box, or like those
Right.
kinds. So I mean, I think you're both right and wrong.
Their
Yeah,
untapped
no,
description
exactly. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
specifically says my though.
That makes
Danger,
sense.
if you
It has
listen to
a-
this, fix it for us and tell us what we need to do. But it is a triple New England IPA. I absolutely love this one, so I'm all about it. What about you guys? Oh, never
I've had
mind.
it. What about you, Rob? Have
I
you had
forgot
Haven't
who I was
had it.
talking to.
I haven't had that. I've had other Old Nation, obviously, but not that one.
Ken's new love of IPAs. We might
Yep.
find him trying it.
Oh
In the
my
future.
god, get out of here! My new love.
I
for
forgot about that.
IPAs.
Ken's an IPA expert now.
Yeah, because it doesn't
I have not.
exist.
His new IPA status.
That again, what can I say? If you listen to the first episode of Better on
so
Draft,
again, Black Note
uh,
Stout.
So
I
what
was gonna-
happened on the shit show of episode 1?
I said I hated barrel aged beers.
Oh, that's true. You did. And I like Detroit hip hop. So
Oh,
yeah.
Ken. everybody's palate changes throughout their beer. What do we call it? The beer
Journey.
Yeah.
journey.
Sir.
Yeah, throughout their beer journey. I hated IPAs, and look at me. I'm getting all IPAs on my flights now. So
I get
Black Note
flights just to
Stout from
piss off
Bell's
Kat.
is on here. Did you guys? Anybody
Black
have
Note.
2023 yet?
I have not.
I kind of do too. I post them as much as I
haven't-
can.
I haven't seen Black Note for a while, but I have definitely had that before, at least.
So I generally like Black Note. I haven't had it yet this year, so I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance
The
to go out
Aggregate
there.
West Coast IPA from Holmes. Go ahead, Ken. I think my internet's messing up.
Yeah, I think you're on a little delay, which is fine. I have not had the Black Note 2023 yet. I didn't go to Eccentric Day or anything like that. I know I had a few friends over in the Michigan Craft Beer Discord went over there, but I had not. But the Holmes Brewery, their West Coast IPA, which isn't their typical New England or kettle sour. I'm curious on this one.
Right, that's what I thought. I'm like, the West Coast IPA is the one that they chose.
Well, I mean, it is
I
one
don't do West
person that
Coast,
made
so-
this decision.
Right. I mean, I don't know. He's done a pretty good job so far as I'm concerned. But there is another drafting table beer on there, the Hibernation Station American Brown Ale. Have you had that one, Ken? I know I have. It's delicious.
I have not. It's been quite a little bit since I've had a drafting table beer that wasn't Pro Pills.
Oh, so I'm really disappointed that Drafting Table has two beers on here, and one of them is not Buzz Blanket, because that is the best beer that they make. It's so delicious. Maybe he didn't have that one.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with a individual person that has to make a list like this, like how many times we made these craft beer lists for beer festivals, and oh, these were the best beers we tried. Well, what about this beer? I'm like, well, motherfucker, I didn't try the 1,000 beers that were there.
Just not possible.
Like even
Lightweight.
when
Yeah.
even when we have a festival where like myself, Wendy, and Ed are going both days, and we're trying different things both days, like we still can't try every single beer or anything like that. So yeah, I think it is a it's probably a good beer. It's an American brown ale, so I'll probably like it. But in the same token, like I don't think I can necessarily do too much about it other than you like it, you don't, you could try it. But the 12 best beers of 2023 of 400 breweries in Michigan,
You definitely didn't try them all.
you're gonna miss a few, and that's nothing against Brian here over at the Detroit Free Press.
Nope.
But it's just a thing. Wendy, how are you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. The delay is a lot less.
All right. I don't know what's going on. I've literally been back in my house for what we started at 7:15 since 6:45.
Oh, damn.
All right. Well, we're back to it as we continue. Rob, what do you want to talk about today?
Let's see. So the article that I have is about a new open carry law boosts downtowns.
Open
So
carry
it's,
law. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Open carry alcohol.
I think he
law.
means open container.
Oh,
No, this is what the headline says. Open carry alcohol.
I heard open carry. I'm like, hold on. What are we doing today?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
there might need to be some hyphens in that somewhere. I'm not sure. But it's
ahead,
an
Nick.
article about it's an article about in West Virginia they started a new outdoor drinking zone and then just kind of how people have caught on to it, how it's working for the city, and then they go and talk about other places that have done similar. And so my experience with these is I first ran into one when I was in Grand Rapids over Labor Day, and they have, what do they call it? The social zone or something like that?
Social district.
Social district. Okay. So my experience with it was, I'm not going to name the brewery here. I went to a brewery and I got some beers with my friend, and we played some games while we were over there. And then we always get a growler to go to play games back at the hotel or, wherever. And so we got a growler to go, and they said, "You want some to-go cups?" And I said, "Well, yeah, what's go?" And so they explained that they can pour beer in the to-go cup and we can drink it in the social district. Great. So my first question to them was, I have a growler full of beer. Can I pour beer into these cups in the social district? To which they said, I don't think so. But it turns out their cops did not rush out of the bushes and swarm my friend and I as we
Rush out of the bushes. We got him. He filled his own glass in the open carry facility.
Yeah, exactly. So we sat in front of the presidential library there and had some nice beers in that park.
Hanging out with old Gerald Ford.
Exactly.
Drinking some beer. I would have been like, no, I'm going to drink it straight from the growler. Thank you.
So the reason this is my first experience like this is because in Indiana, it's there. You can just have open containers. So we can pour beer into a cup out on the street and drink it straight there, right in front of a cup if we wanted. So it's just kind of, it was interesting to me that I ran into a place where you can't do that. And then they had a special place where you sort of could do that, but not the way I would want to. So I'm curious how people feel about these districts, how they're working and all that.
So I think they're great. Sorry, Ken, I didn't mean to cut you off there,
No,
but
go for it.
I
Dan.
think they're great. We have Las Vegas, we have New Orleans, where it's 24/7. You can do that. You are having these social districts pop up where you can do that. We have places here, like there's a place called Tempe Marketplace, which is shopping, restaurants. There's an area of that called the district where the restaurants all are, and you can buy beer and have beer or liquor and walk around there. I don't see what's wrong with that, and I think it should be something that should open up more. I'm actually kind of surprised we don't have straight up open container laws here in Arizona, because you can do whatever the hell else you want. It doesn't matter, but that's
carry.
the one thing. You can conceal carry without a license too. That's constitutional. But we're not talking about that. I thought that's what we were going to.
Yeah,
I think it's a great thing.
headline.
I hope I feel like you'll see more cities doing it. At least I'm not going to get political, but I think you'll see more bigger cities doing it. And it's a great thing because there's nothing wrong with it. It's 2023. It's not the 1950s, or even they used to drink in the 1800s, doing whatever the hell they wanted. But I don't know what happened here after Prohibition, but it's a great thing. So what? Let people walk around, have a good time. If you need cops hiding in the bushes, like apparently they do in Grand Rapids looking for Rob, fine. But let it happen. There's a lot of great districts. You want to bring people in. It makes tax money. It makes businesses money. Just let it happen. There's no reason not to.
So for me, obviously, I'm a big proponent of it. It's great. There are places like the Foxtown district in Detroit, like Stadium District or whatever it's called now. Like that area needs to be open carry. Like when Dan and our friend Mike, we went to Bookies, I think, at one point to drink, and like the place was packed wall to wall. The outdoor patio, the patio upstairs, both floors. Like we found a table like last second. Yeah. But it would have been easier for us to have just literally grabbed a to-go glass and just walk the streets because we wouldn't have cared.
Was that not a district? So
that is not a Detroit does not have any drinking districts.
Oh wow. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Even the little hall between the Fox and the State, which has like Fertito Beditas and a few other restaurants and stuff like
Yeah.
that over there. Like that's not a walking district. That's not a drinking district. Like they have a
Wow.
patio and an alcohol line that you can't cross. Now, when it comes to Detroit, as long as you're not making a ruckus, nobody gives two shits. I've walked so many times from MGM to Ford Field with a big 24 of Labatt. And they don't care as long as you like. I've walked in front of the cops that are doing traffic on Woodward, and you nod your head, you say hello, and they just keep doing their job, and you just keep walking because you're not being a shithead. And that's also what do you call it, a tailgate day. So, I'm sure laws are a little bit more laxed, especially in the parking lots and stuff. They don't necessarily care, again, as long as you're not being a shithead. But in the city of Detroit, however, there is no drinking district. Whereas when big things are starting to happen in Detroit, like think about when the draft comes here in 4 months. Like the
The
ability
NFL
to
draft, just to be
yeah,
clear.
the NFL
Okay.
draft. Yes, not World War III draft.
Even I knew that one.
Not World War III, the WCW pay-per-view, or
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
60 man over the top battle royal. Like there's no drinking district, but with the amount of people that are coming into the city and that are going to be going to bars and bar hopping and want to go see this thing with this NFL person who's there signing autographs and want to go to the next bar and the next thing, like the city of Detroit better get their act together to be able to do that, because people are going to want to move from a Hockey Town Cafe and go over to Detroit Beer Company and then go over to, different bars and different restaurants throughout the area with the official, even if you make the drinking district just for the NFL draft, like,
I have a question.
yeah.
I don't know anything about this. People will come into town for the draft?
Draft is a huge thing.
Like, not
Oh,
just
Yeah.
draft,
we're
Do you have the
gonna
combine
have-
too?
No,
I don't
the
think we have
combine's
the
usually
combine.
in Indy.
Yeah, I
Don't
think
they
it's,
always
I think it's
do
usually in
the
Indy.
same
Yeah.
yeah. So the NFL draft they're expecting to have more people than the Super Bowl 40 that was at Ford Field. Yeah, they're expecting a lot of people to be in town. They're expecting a lot of Detroit fans to be in town, a lot of out of town fans come into the town. So when the draft was in Nashville last year or the year before, there was a huge complaint because the draft, which happens for 4 days or 3 days, over a weekend, like it's 4 days, I think, Thursday to Sunday.
Thursday, Friday. Yeah.
So the draft happens, but what's Nashville known for? Bachelorette parties. What fucked up all those bachelorette parties?
Yeah,
The
the
NFL
draft.
draft and all of these people that came into Nashville. So expect Detroit, like
I'm sorry, that's funny.
when the fireworks come to Detroit every year. When I lived in Detroit, like I got out of the city. Like I
It's
ain't
a shit
messing with
show.
all. Yeah, it's a shit show. I expect this to be an entire week worth of shit show.
So,
So,
do you like actually get to can buy tickets to watch the draft?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
Really?
can go watch the draft, you can go tailgate, you can go party. If you go watch, like go to YouTube right now and you go watch like videos from the NFL draft, and they draft like, oh, for the number 8 pick, it's Jahmyr Gibbs to the Detroit Lions, and then they literally pan to the Lions fan section and all the fans that are cheering
Oh, yeah.
for the pick or booing the pick or whatever is
Do
happening.
you have to buy a ticket based on what team you like? How do they have the fan
good
section?
question.
There's
I
so
don't
many
know.
questions I have now.
I'm not an official NFL draft knower, so I don't know everything that happens. But if I had to guess, you would be segregated to the team you want to go to, and you're not buying tickets to troll. Like I'm not going to go buy tickets to wear a Detroit Lions jersey in the Chicago Bears area. Like they'll probably just physically remove you. Be like, oh, sorry, you're in the wrong area.
Tried to start fights. So
Okay.
Ken, I'm glad you brought up Super Bowl 40 because you referenced when we were down there. That was the weekend. I believe there was a Tigers game and then SummerSlam. The only time I have seen more people downtown is during the fireworks. So it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't have a social district. It's still blowing my mind. But if you're going to have that level of people, You know, you think even 10 years back, there were never that amount of people downtown, even during a Lions game. The city was packed. It was actually pretty incredible. They need to get their act together because you're right. If the draft is coming, people come from all over the country, if not the world, for this. It's a big deal. I know, Wendy, you've never heard of it before or understood how that works. It is a big deal. Like people, it's not like any of the other drafts. It's not like the NHL draft or like the NBA draft that only has 2 rounds. It brings people in like you wouldn't believe.
I mean, I paid attention to it on TV. I just never thought that people were actually going there to watch the draft.
Yeah.
That just blows my mind.
As a quote, Mayor Duggan said that they're expecting 400,000 people to come into the city for the NFL draft. So that's what's coming on downtown. Folks, we are live on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Kick, on X, and on Instagram. We got a lot of people chatting real quick, so I want to catch up on some stuff. Our boy Toots
Toots is back. Yes, Toots.
Savannah and To Go Cups is life. He also says,
nice.
White cowboy boots versus drunk Jets fans. And Ken, it's NFL fans segregation, Lions only, Bears only, etc. So I think we are in agreement. Jason Flanders on X is saying most small towns in South Central Michigan have this now. You still have to have the cup. So for these districts, usually there's like a sponsored cup that you have to have, like St. Clair Shores, like it's an official kind of like when you go to Vegas, like even in downtown Vegas, like you can't have open carry glass. You have to have a can or plastic.
Yeah.
And then there's
use
some
the official cup in Grand Rapids.
The official cup, yes.
Yeah. Some places they'll have a sticker so they know where you got it from. But I've always been a fan of these just because if you're going bar hopping and you like order a beer and your friends are like, oh, hey, we're leaving. You're like, well, shit. Like, do you not drink it or do you chug it? Well, in my mind, I'm going to chug it. So now I don't have to chug it anymore. So that's what all this, Godzilla says still waiting for District Detroit to break ground, which I think is a joke on the investment the Ilitches claim to make in the
that's
city,
right. For the little
Detroit.
Caesars.
Yeah, for the Pizzarina. It has been a 2-hour show tonight between Craft Beer News and, of course, the Better on Draft podcast. We go live every Friday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern. If you're listening via the podcast, you can go check out the videos on YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching the videos, you can always subscribe to our podcast, Spotify, iTunes, leave a review, 5 stars saying Ken is the best. Ken is better on draft. Ken is great. I don't care.
Don't do that. Don't.
It's not all
leave us a 1-star review. Go for it.
Or leave a 5-star saying fuck Ken, I like Dan, or fuck Ken, I like Rob, or fuck Ken, Wendy's the best. I don't care as long as it's 5 stars. Have a great holiday, a Merry Christmas. We will be back before the new year for one final episode to go over our resolutions, but that is going to do it for this episode. My name is Ken, for Rob, Dan, and Wendy. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday night. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Cheers.